Well, welcome back. We're turning now to the very latest from the state's capital. Our digital political reporter Alex Kenlin is here with key takeaways from this week and wrap-ups from the session as well. Alex, thanks for joining us again.
Catherine, thank you for having me.
Of course. I know that lawmakers are taking a much-needed break, I think, after a very busy couple weeks, but there are some points that we want to kind of hit on once more before we completely close out. I want to get to a law that is now in law, which is the 10 Commandments that are going to be in schools and public places. So that is passed and it's now law but not in effect yet.
It'll go into effect for the next school year.
Okay.
And just to be clear, the governor signed hundreds of bills in the last couple days.
Wow.
Several hundred, over 100 today. And yeah, 10 Commandments is one of them. Going forward for the next school year, Arkansas classrooms, higher ed on down, will be expected to have a poster displaying "In God We Trust" and a second poster displaying the 10 Commandments. This will also apply to public buildings. Funds will come from donations. It won't be a state-funded thing, or that people can actually donate the posters should it come to that.
Okay, so that's something we're looking forward to in the future, for that to be in classrooms and public schools. I know something else that was kind of recently passed and signed, but we maybe haven't touched on as much yet, is criminal penalties for those who commit certain offenses against minors. And
the certain offense, of course, if rape is committed and the victim is a minor, the victim is under 13 years old, it's possible for that person to get the death penalty.
Wow.
Or at least life without parole. So if they are found guilty in a court of law, of course.
Yeah.
There's exceptions to the law now for juvenile offenders where they cannot get the death penalty, and they are eligible for parole after a certain period of time. This was done in reaction to a Supreme Court ruling that Arkansas wanted to get on board and say there should be strong penalties for this crime.
And that certainly is a strong penalty.
And that's exactly what's stated in the bill's preamble.
Okay. Now, I know there are also bills and laws that affect felons as well. Felons,
for all this talk, I thought this was really interesting. 3 bills were signed today, and for all this talk about a new prison, and heavens knows we haven't heard the last of that, there's a talk to actually reduce recidivism, that is, reduce the opportunity for felons to return to prison. They say 48.3% of our discharged felons return to prison in the state. We have 3 bills. One credits time spent working while on parole, and 2 others, I'm just going to put them in together, but they talk about rehabilitation and then following a felon after they've been released and make sure they follow through on their programs. But this is a very robust program. It begins on day 1 of incarceration and charges the Department of Corrections, key word is corrections, with coming up, developing these programs and implementing these programs.
Okay, so certainly some big updates there, and would be interesting to see how those impact that population in the future. And then finally, there's something about nuclear power that was passed as well. Nuclear
power. Now think about this. We spent a lot of time, you might recall, talking about electrical power in the state.
Yeah.
And we know we're going to lose a coal-fired plant in 2030. This mandates a feasibility study on nuclear power in the state to be delivered to the legislature by July of 2026.
Wow. Okay. Man, still a lot to talk about in this session. A lot, like you just said, that happened very recently as well. So, of course, we'll look for the very latest online as you continue to report for us.
And it'll be there.
Alex, thank you very much.
Thank you, Catherine.
And again, guys, that's KARK.com. You can see everything we've covered during the session as well as what continues to happen now that the session is wrapping up.